Hi, everybody. It's Captain Canada again. And today I'm meeting with somebody I'll tell you what, the best way I can describe my next guest is he may not be the most interesting man in the world, but he's a pretty damn close second as far as I'm concerned. Everybody, this is Jay Kemp. Jay, say hi to the people that might be watching.
Hello, people that might be watching.
There you go. So, a little bit of an introduction to how I know Jay. I got to be honest, I've known Jay since, I guess it would be 1995 or
Yep, sounds about
thereabouts.
right.
Yeah. But this is the actual first time I've ever spoken to Jay in person. So I used to work with Jay's wife. Now, Jay's wife is called Janine, and she's an amazing woman, very personable, very friendly. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you know this, Jay, but when you first, Aiden is your oldest, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. When Janine was pregnant with Aiden, for whatever reason, I was the first person at work that she told. And I've always been like so touched by that, but for whatever reason, I just think it was so cool that she shared that news with me first. So yeah, Janine was always awesome. And since then, I've kind of got to know Jay through Facebook and other things. And Jay has had one of the most exciting and interesting lives that I've heard of since I've known him anyway. And I'll be honest, he's a bit of a role model, so I'm kind of geeking out a little bit here and banging on my mic by mistake. Sorry about that. So Jay, I'm going to go into your background a bit. When I first met Janine and got kind of introduced to you, you were working with one of the sports channels, right?
Yes, I was with TSN for 10, 11 years.
TSN, the sports network, that's what they're
Yes,
called, right?
yes,
And
correct.
you're a camera operator. Is that the correct term?
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't
yeah,
want to say cameraman because that's kind of dating myself, I think.
yeah. Everyone says cameraman. I prefer camera operator because obviously, you know, don't have to be a man to do the job. There's lots of women that do it and do it very well.
Well said.
Um, and then from there, uh, you can have different categories of camera operators. So now I would refer to myself as a director of photography.
Wow. That's a hell of a title.
You can call yourself whatever you want.
I'm calling myself a YouTube celebrity.
There you go.
I'll work with it. I mean, I'm not there yet, but we'll get there eventually, I hope. So, what kind of stuff did you do with TSM? What kind of sporting events did you do?
We did everything. Mostly I was covering news for TSN, so a lot of Leafs practices and Blue Jay practices, and occasionally we go and do road games with the team, doing filing reports before the games, after the games. Sometimes we would shoot stuff for production where you'd be shooting highlights of the game or the game itself. So there's a lot of variety there. And
That's
for the
cool.
longest time, I loved doing it.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you get to meet any of the players and know them on a personal level, or were you kind of hands off with that?
Uh, Met all the players. Some of them would recognize you because you're there day in, day out,
Yeah.
but never on a personal level. Um, and full disclosure, when I started at TSN, I wasn't a huge sports fan. I'm
No.
a I'm I'm a fan of doing camera.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was great because I could shoot a game or I could follow the Leafs in the playoffs and not get too wound up in it.
Yeah.
You know, I was sort of focused on the craft type of thing.
Yeah.
Towards the end, you know, I became a huge sports fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a favorite team that you follow now, or?
No, my kids aren't really into sports, and so it's tough to command the TV and watch a game. I like watching a lot of NFL.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, towards the end of my career at TSN, I became a fan of NASCAR, and
No way.
which is really weird because I wasn't a huge gearhead. I liked cars, I liked racing, and I had an opportunity to go down to Daytona 500 and do a NASCAR race. And a friend of mine said, "Have you ever been to a race?" I said, "No, I haven't." And he said, "Trust me, when you leave, you will be a fan." He said, I don't know anyone that's ever come to a NASCAR race and not left being a huge fan. And I was a huge fan when I left.
Yeah.
Just hearing the roar of the cars and being down in the pits, like you can feel the excitement. When you go down to see a hockey game, I'm sure you sit far back. But when you're up
Yeah.
against the glass, like, you almost feel like you're part of it. And that's what it was like with NASCAR.
Yeah. I remember I went to a Leafs game with my dad, and I had it was in Maple Leaf Gardens, and I don't know if
I
you,
remember.
yeah, it was great building. But this one game that I went to with my dad, we were right up against the glass and right next to the Leafs penalty box, and the seats at the Gardens up against the glass anyway, they were on a bit of a riser, maybe that much, maybe like 8,
Yep.
9 inches, 10 inches, and you would step up on that to get onto your seat. And then the pregame warm-up, I hope this is a name that some people remember anyway, Bob Probert skated
Yep.
up to the glass. Now, Bob Probert was a massive man, this way and that way, and he skated up to the glass, and there's me with my Domi shirt on, my Domi Leaf shirt on, and Probert looked at me and he went, "Pfft," and I was like, oh crap. Massive individual. So these players are something else to see up close. And you're right, it takes you into the game, like you feel like you're part of it, you know.
Yeah, I remember doing an interview with Charo once. He's whatever he is. He's 6'4" without skates on. They
Yeah,
put skates on the guy, and all of a sudden, they're giants.
yeah, he's massive. Yeah, he's just got signed by Washington, so in the off season. So they're going to be a team to reckon against anyway. But yeah, so you're right about that. Now NASCAR, I've never been to NASCAR, but I did go to an Indy, the Toronto Indy.
Yep.
I had a very bad cold. Maybe it was a flu. I don't know, but I fell asleep as these cars are going. So it tells you
That's
how.
tough to do.
Yeah,
You must have been really sick.
yeah. I wasn't feeling too good. It was raining, so I had a poncho. I pulled it over my head, and I just sat there, and I went to sleep, and it was fun. But
And
yeah,
I'd done the Indy for years, gone down, interviewed a lot of the drivers and stuff like that. The difference between the Indy and NASCAR for me was huge because Indy, it's open wheel racing. So the cars can't really get close together. If they touch the wall, it's game over. If they
yeah,
touch another car, game over. And it's like F1. You can't really get into the pits because they're really secretive about the stuff they're doing and
yeah,
whatnot, and rightly so. When I went down to NASCAR, one of the first things we were in the pits. And I remember the garage door was open and the hood was open of the car. And with IndyCar and F1, you can't film the engine. They'll cover it up. They've got blankets and stuff like that. They cover up different parts of the engine.
really,
But not with NASCAR. They want it to be very open to the public and to the press. And so I remember going down, and I'm sort of standing at the edge of the garage, and the guy's like, no, you can come in. So I came in, and I'm like, I can't believe this. I'm shooting the engine.
yeah,
And one of the mechanics stepped in front of me, and I thought, okay, that's the hint. Back up. You can't shoot the engine. And he's like, oh, sorry, am I? And he grabbed me by the shoulder and takes me over to the car, and now we're leaning over the engine.
wow,
And so the access was unbelievable. So you, just like when you were right on the glass, like you felt like you were part of it. I felt like I was part of this pit crew,
yeah,
and because it's closed wheel racing, the cars can get really close together.
right.
NASCAR is notorious. If a feather falls on the track, they'll put up a yellow flag, and the cars get together and group again. So on a 3-hour race, unlike Monaco, if you have an F1, if you've got the pole position, really there's not a lot of passing because it's so tight. It's also exciting if there is passing, but the story becomes the race for second, third, fourth, fifth, down the line, because the guy usually has a pole position, usually does pretty good.
Yeah,
But NASCAR, you can start 23rd and win the race.
yeah, it's crazy, eh?
And so it was just like, we didn't get a lot of it at the time when I was at TSN. We didn't get a lot of it in Canada. So it just sort of opened my eyes to something that was new.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's
I love hockey, but it's a huge hockey culture.
mhm.
Hockey, always on the radio, always on the TV. And it's great. I love hockey. But I just sort of found something that no one was really talking about so much. I
Yeah,
just felt like I was a part of it.
that's cool. That's very cool. So from TSN, you then went to the Discovery Network. Is that correct?
Yep, Discovery Channel, yep.
Yeah, Discovery Channel, sorry. And this is where I really started to, I guess, talk to you one-on-one, but it was all through chat and
Yep.
typing. But some of the stuff, I got to tell you, some of the stuff that you covered and the way you presented it on your Facebook, fascinating, fascinating. Like I didn't even need to watch the show. I was already hooked on it. You did a lot of stuff with NASA, and I'm guessing that was probably some of your favorite stuff. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm a huge space nut.
Yeah.
So any of the NASA stuff we did, I was just, pardon the pun, over the moon about. Like it was like a dream come true. Like just doing stuff like because of what we were doing and the type of show we were doing, we had access to places that a lot of people just will never get a chance to go to, whether they're in the media or not.
Yeah.
And I remember one time we were at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, which is in Houston, I believe.
Now,
it's the world's largest indoor pool.
Right.
So it's so big that they've got a mock-up of parts of the space station in there, and that's where you see the astronauts going to the pool and practicing all their maneuvers and sort of simulated weightlessness.
Yeah.
And it's such a restricted facility. It used to be open a long time ago. It used to be open to the public, and they would take the public down towards the pool. And I guess somebody at some point decided, hey, this would be fun, and jumped into the pool.
Oh.
And they had to shut down all of NASA. And I don't mean shut down the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. All of NASA gets shut down.
Wow.
So it's huge, restricted area. You have to go through government clearance and all that stuff. And they won't even let you near the pool anymore. So if you're able to get into the building, there's a special spot near a stairwell where you can shoot. Now, they have NASA employees that are in the water and in the pool, so we get a lot of the footage from them. But for me, I had to be back a ways. And I remember I'm shooting in the hallway, sort of overlooking this pool, and the NASA PR woman comes up to me and says, "What could you just step over to the side just a bit?" And I was like, "Okay." And she's, "Yeah, the astronauts are just coming through."
Oh.
And they're most friendly people you ever meet, and they're like, "Hi, how are you?" You chat with them a little bit, and so getting to meet all the Canadian astronauts was a thrill for me.
Wow. Yes. You met Chris Hadfield?
Met Chris Hadfield several times.
What a fascinating guy he is, eh?
His resume is like out of this world.
Oh, here you go with the pun again.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. He's the best of the best. He's the best jet fighter pilot. I remember doing an interview with him, and this was before he was going up on the space station, and he had to learn Russian because he was going up on the Soyuz capsule.
Okay.
You have to learn Russian. So he's got like 5 years or whatever to learn Russian.
Wow.
So, like just everything he does, he just perfects. Just an absolute amazing Canadian.
Wow. He's a good representative for the country, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just
but I mean, he's one-dimensional. Let's call it what it is. You're much more higher up on the rankings than he is as far as interesting Canadians go. Yeah, so just want to clarify that.
I don't have a flag behind me.
Well, I can rent this out. It does weddings, bar mitzvahs, the whole thing. So
I don't know. I mean, I can still see the folds in it.
I know it's brand new, but I noticed in the last interview that I did that as I'm sitting here, it looks like I've got devil's horns and a peak sitting out of the top of my head.
I like the crown. I like it.
I'm kind of liking the horns. Those are, yeah. But anyway, so regardless of that, so just to give people that have never been close to it, you've seen the space shuttle up close, right?
I actually had an opportunity, again, on one of our Houston trips, to go on an actual mock-up of the space shuttle. So this mock-up is where the astronauts train. So every switch on there is an actual switch.
Wow.
It flips like an actual switch. It's a simulator that sits in Houston. And again, that's a restricted area.
Yeah.
And we had an opportunity with Dave Williams. We're interviewing Dave Williams. And so we had an opportunity. I had an opportunity to go onto the deck of now this isn't obviously a flying space shuttle, but it's a mock-up of a space shuttle.
Yeah.
So everything on there is real. It powers on everything. It was
And
I
this,
was like a kid in a candy store.
what does this button do? What?
Yeah, exactly.
The size of it was the same as the real one, right?
Yeah, everything identical size. All the monitors do exactly what they would do on the space shuttle. It's a full up simulator.
Wow.
Uh, you know, they can try putting on spacesuits and see what it's like, and you realize how small it is. Like it
And
is tiny.
that's what I was leading to, because on TV it looks huge, but then you look at it again and you think the windows are relatively small in the cockpit.
Yeah,
I don't think they call it the cockpit. They call it
yeah,
the
I think they do.
yeah. Okay.
Flight
So
deck.
it can't be that big, but how big is it? Like,
No,
what
it's
do
not.
you compare it to?
Oh, um, I would say so you have the pilot and the co-pilot seat, and then I think there's seats in behind them. In fact, I know there's seats in behind them because Chris Hadfield was on. But I think those seats get folded up and
Oh,
packed away.
really?
So it creates a little bit of space on the deck. But really, you could have maybe 2 or 3 people up there and you'd be bumping into each other. And so you've got the cockpit windows that look at the front, obviously. And then if you were to put your hand on the back of the seat, you could probably touch almost the back. So
Wow.
that's where they would operate. There's a little window at the back and a little window up top where they can operate the Canada arm.
Yeah. So they're not very big then. They're I would imagine they're
No, and then there's a deck below, right? So you go down a ladder, and then there's a deck below. But during takeoff, they'll have seats there,
yeah,
and then once they get into orbit, they pack those seats away.
like drop seats, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That must have been amazing for you. I loved looking at your updates, and I would love to go down to is it Canaveral where they've got all the museum and that?
Yeah, so there's two, Kennedy Space Center in Florida,
Kennedy,
Cape
that's the
Canaveral.
one.
Yeah, Cape Canaveral. They do have a massive museum, and it's really it's almost overwhelming when you see the Saturn V, how big it is, and so that's there. And they've got all sorts of astronaut suits. There's a whole you can tour where they did the sort of the Kennedy side of the launch for Apollo,
Hmm.
so you can see the sort of mission control there. Uh, Jim Lovell, he's got a spacesuit there, which is incredible. You realize these guys weren't very tall.
No.
Um, yeah, so and then there's one in Houston as well, which I didn't realize we were in the Houston Space Center, and just sort of off to the side, and there's this sort of like a museum area, and I just happened to see it, and only had like an hour or two, but it's absolutely incredible. They've got Apollo capsules that they've
Wow.
recovered from the water. It's amazing.
These are the actual ones.
Actual ones, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I think there's some Apollo stuff at Smithsonian in Washington D.C. as well.
That's so cool. Yeah, I always wonder though about the what's the word, authenticity of those things. Maybe they just made it up to look like it, but if
No,
it's
like the one in I remember seeing the one of the capsules. I can't remember which one it was. It may have been Apollo 12.
uh-huh.
They've got the capsule in Houston, and of course it's all behind sort of plexiglass. So they've got the door open so you can look in, but everything's behind plexiglass. And I remember sliding my finger underneath one of the pieces of plexiglass just to say I touched it. And you can see it's all charred on the outside.
It is
It
still, eh?
really is incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you realize how small that is. Like, and these guys spent 8 days
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this tiny little phone booth.
Wow. That's kind of creepy. So part of the other work that you did that I found personally, as well as the space stuff. I mean, you're a big Star Wars fan too, aren't you?
Love Star Wars.
Let me show you what I just recently got off of Amazon.
Uh-oh. Very nice. Does it
Right?
make sounds?
Pew. Yeah.
Pew pew.
No,
You
it's
can
actually
edit that in later.
yeah. It's white with orange, and I just painted it black and I'm trying to color that in silver there. But
Oh, very nice.
apparently, this is what they do. This is an
That's a
actual. Pardon? Oh, your mic's cut out on you there.
Oh, sorry. You had me?
Yeah, I got you
Get through
now.
you. Yeah. That's from a stormtrooper, is it not?
Yes, it is. Yeah, very good. So I'm not a big fan of Star Wars, but I am a fan of Stormtroopers for whatever reason. I don't know. I've always just liked them since the movie came out. So, but
Right.
going back to your filming, another section that you shared a lot of was you're working with animals, and particular the one that I loved the most was your images of you working with the penguins.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Those things are hilarious. There was one particular picture where you're on your knees with the camera on your shoulder, and there's this penguin just kind of going, looking up directly at you. And it was, I think I left a post something about Kemp didn't get the notice about formal attire to the.
That was really fun. That museum or that zoo is in Detroit, I believe, and it's absolutely breathtaking. It's one of the biggest penguin exhibits, I think, in North America. And it's a massive, huge place where they can swim and you can go through tunnels and see them. What I didn't know going in is they're very curious animals.
Yeah.
So as they were allowing us to go in with these penguins, because of course we were shooting from the outside, and they asked if we wanted. And then the keeper said, "I'm just going to warn you, they're very, very curious." I was like, "Okay." And she said, "Like, they're very curious." I'll say it again. They're very curious. Like, oh, okay, sure. And so I think I had rubber boots on
I
and
think you
knee
did. Yeah, I
pads.
remember.
Yeah, knee pads, which I wear a lot. And she said, the other thing I'm going to warn you about is, we try and keep it as clean as possible. But penguins are really dirty animals.
Yeah.
And so there was penguin poop everywhere.
Right.
And you had to be careful that you didn't slip on the penguin poop. This facility is so great, they actually have simulated snow that falls from the ceiling. And the penguins will go and they'll stand. There's just one spot where the snow piles up. And they just kind of stand there. And the snow piles on top of them. It's an amazing facility. But I remember going in and they had, I guess they're emperor penguins.
Yeah.
And they had a whole mixture of a whole bunch of different penguins. And they're basically at crotch height.
Yeah. Oh.
So if you've ever experienced dogs that are curious, imagine penguins with beaks, and they were all over you.
Wow.
And I had my tripod in there, and they were pecking at my tripod. Anything you put down, they're curious. They want to go and they'll peck at it.
Yeah.
And they'll all come over as a group, and they all gather around, and they were like pecking at my tripod or pecking at my boot or my belt. But it was just an amazing experience.
That's hilarious. Yeah, they're awesome little creatures. They're so I don't know. They're just cute. They're inquisitive, like you say, right? So I like that about them. But you did a lot of work with other animals. What kind of other animals did you deal with?
So we didn't do a ton of animals just because the nature of the show, they tried to stay away from a lot of the nature stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I did a shoot with grizzly bears where we flew into Jasper National Park and we were helicoptered into a few areas where you're not allowed to be. Like it's closed off. So we could go there because we were with researchers. So you're standing foot on this ground surrounded by mountains thinking, I don't know if anyone's ever stood foot here.
Wow.
Had a couple close encounters with bears, which would be terrifying. I managed to do a shoot in, I think it was Indianapolis, and they were doing dentistry on tigers, lions and tigers.
Oh.
Which is a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, it is.
So, we'd have these animals and their heads would be so massive. I remember this one lion, they said it was 600 and some odd pounds.
Oh my.
Its head was so massive that there'd be no problem me putting my entire head in its mouth, like without even having to open too far. So obviously the animals sedated, and they had to remove a couple of canines from some of them. So that was really neat to see.
Wow,
I was going to say tigers like that.
They're huge.
Did some stuff with sharks. Had a close encounter with a crocodile. Terrified me. So yeah, a few animals here and there.
Yeah, I see.
Whales, loved whales. Humpback whales were absolutely one of the highlights of my career.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you ever work with orcas, killer whales?
No, but we did a shoot in Alaska, and we were actually fishing for halibut.
Oh,
We were filming a scientist fishing for halibut, which I didn't realize are massive.
they are, aren't they?
Yeah, and really aggressive fish too.
I didn't realize
Uh,
that.
yeah, really like really violently aggressive. Anyways, real interesting science on the halibut. And up in Alaska, just absolutely breathtaking, with the mountains and everything. And we were out there for, I don't know, let's say 10 hours.
Wow.
And we're taking the boat back, and all of a sudden the captain says, "Look off the bow," and there's like six orcas just going along with us. So pretty
Impressive.
incredible.
You just saw their massive fins going like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to realize that some of the times, for example, with the humpback whales, this was off the coast of Boston, and you're not allowed to get close to humpback whales. There's a whole treaty. You have to be 500 yards or 1,000 yards or whatever it is. Now, if the whale comes close to the boat, like if you're on a tourism boat, that's fine. That's fair game. But the boat cannot approach the whale.
Right.
Well, we were on a Zodiac with
Oh, no.
researchers,
Yeah.
and these whales were feeding, clamshell mouth coming out of the water, just absolutely incredible. And you're filming, but you're looking at everything through at that time, a black and white viewfinder. So at one point we saw probably 30, 40 humpback whales, tails coming out of the water, whales breaching, all sorts of stuff. And I thought, I'm shooting this, but I'm experiencing it through a 1 inch by 1 inch viewfinder.
Right.
So at some point, while I was filming, I stood back from the camera just to see it with my own eyes. Because a lot of what you experience, whether it be astronauts or a rocket launch, especially like a rocket launch, you'll get a second chance at that. It goes up, have it or you don't have it.
Yeah.
So you have to have it.
Yeah.
So you're experiencing a lot of these great things that you're showing to other people, but you're experiencing it through a viewfinder.
Wow.
And so at some point you try and take a half step back and look at the whales with your own eyes, or smell the air, take it all in.
Yeah. Well, see, I mentioned, I did a video earlier today with somebody, and we were talking about, I do these 17 questions with everybody, and their answer was, to one of the questions, the answer was orca. And I said, we got on the subject of whales and how you can get up close to these things now, or they'll come close to you, and there's videos all over. And one of the videos I've seen is what you were saying about the big mouth coming up, and it takes in a kayaker. And
yeah, I saw that one.
And it takes the whole thing in, like not just the guy, but the whole kayak. It just gives you an idea of how huge these things are or can be.
Oh,
It's a complete...
standing beside it, it's incredible. One of the things we were looking at is the whales will go underwater and they create what's called a bubble net.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
Yeah, so we'd be on the Zodiac and you can see bubbles. Like, let's say, it's 20 yards off your bow.
Yeah.
And you see all this water start to churn and bubble. And then all of a sudden, this giant, looks like a clam comes out of the water.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
Is there a noise associated with it, or?
No, the humpback whales at that time weren't doing like a full breach. Now, sometimes the fluke would come up and you'd really get an idea of the size of the mammal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like they're doing like full breaches where you've seen some of those videos.
Wow. That must have been so cool. Well, this goes back to what I was saying. I'm envious. You're a role model. I'll never get to do that kind of stuff, but just the fact that I can share, that experience it's fascinating to me. I love that kind of stuff. And from there, you left Discovery Network, or Discovery Channel, sorry, and you've moved on. Now you're doing your own stuff, which you were doing before you left. But now you're doing your own freelancing and photography stuff. And I've got to tell you, Jay, the work that you do is absolutely incredible. Some of the images that you capture are breathtaking. You, again, on the animal theme, you've done a lot of work with animals, or capturing animals, but these are wild animals, right? These are not pets necessarily.
Yep.
These are wild animals, and you've just caught them at the right moment. But the work itself is incredible. And I'm going to
Can I
add a
just touch
link.
on? Yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Can I just touch on? It's not so much catching, like catching at the right moment. I think the secret to doing animals, whether it's a dog, a cat, a pet, a deer out in the field, a bird, to me, it's catching the animal doing something.
Yeah.
So if I'm out taking a picture of a bird, I did a cardinal the other week or whatever. It was okay. I mean, but it's just sitting in the tree.
Yeah.
To me, if I take a picture of a bird, I want to see it flying. If there's a deer in the field, it's to me, I like to see it in motion, like if it's got a leg moving.
Yeah.
And same thing if I go to the zoo. I don't ever want to see a lion sitting there in the sun.
Yeah.
You know, so I try and figure out, okay, when is that lion going to get fed? Because that's when he's going to be active.
Yeah.
And if you go, well, when the zoo is open, when you go to the zoo, I think the lions get fed. Careful what I say here, but I think it was 10 in the morning.
Okay.
Maybe noon is while they get a snack. So if you know that, the animals know when they're going to get fed too. So they're active and they move. And
Yeah.
I think that's the secret.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if you saw it ever, but I have an image. I was lucky enough at the Metro Zoo. There was an animal, a lion that wasn't well. It was under the weather, and the woman that was the keeper was trying to give this medication. Now, you don't just walk up to a lion and say, "Here, take 2 of these and call me in the morning," kind of thing. So she had meatballs, and she had made the ball of meat and put the medication in it, and she was throwing it for this one lion. Well, she had a soft cast on her hand, so she wasn't able to get the throw properly. And I said, "Can I help you? Is it like I felt bad for her, and it wasn't because I wanted to feed a lion, but I said, "Can I help you throw that? You look like you're struggling." And she said, "Sure. Do you think you could throw it right at it?" And I'm like, "Could I?" So I got this meatball, and I got my camera, and I threw the meatball, and I got the lion with its tongue out. So it's
Oh,
like,
very nice.
but lions' tongues are like down to here when they're out of their mouth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've actually, I think I've won awards with that picture because it was so unique, right?
Yeah, but I think again, I think that's a secret. Whether you're taking a picture of your cat at home or your dog or a lion,
Yeah.
it has to be doing something.
Yeah.
Because you can go walk around the whole zoo. I used to have a membership. It used to drive me crazy because as I was leaving the zoo at, let's say, 11:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
people are arriving to the zoo, and I'm like, you're going to miss everything because it's hot and the animals are going to be sleeping.
Yeah.
They know they're going to get fed.
Yeah.
So you just have to sort of plan it. And having a zoo membership, this sounds like a commercial for them, but having a zoo membership was great because I could go and say, okay, you know what? I want to get pictures of primates. And I'd go and we'd just look at primates.
Yeah.
And then we'd leave. And I didn't feel like I had to look at everything because I'm spending money, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. The Toronto Zoo is, I think it's the 3rd largest zoo in North America.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I would argue that people in our area don't go to Niagara Falls enough, don't go to the zoo enough.
Yeah.
There's all these things that we have that we're very lucky to have.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention Niagara Falls because, again, in another video I've done, we were talking about how this person, her name is Kim, and she's from Vegas, but she says she doesn't go to the Strip because it's the Strip, right? She lives there. She doesn't need to go and see the Strip. Whereas hearing, like, for example, I'm in Hamilton, which is, I don't know, what, 40-minute drive to Niagara Falls, one of the most incredible wonders of the world, they call it. But to me, it's like, oh, water, and goes all the way down there. Wow, cool. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing spectacular about Niagara Falls. It's just because we've become accustomed to it. It's almost like it's part of everyday life for us, right? So
yeah, people come from all over the world to see it.
Yeah, they do. I remember I had a friend who's passed away since then, but he came over from England to visit, and he wanted to go to Niagara Falls, and I was taking him up, and I'm like, "Oh, there it is," and he's like, "Holy!" and insert inappropriate word for YouTube. But he couldn't get over the sheer size and the volume of it, and the experience. But to me, it was. I mean, I've been seeing this thing since I was probably before I was even born. I've been going to Niagara Falls, and it doesn't have the same impact on us. But again, it's all about exposure, right? I mean, for you now, I suppose there'd still be an amount of awe, if you will. But if you were to go to NASA again, it wouldn't have the same impact as the first time you did it. So
It's different because every time you go, you look at things from a different lens. No matter where I went
there's the pun
in the
again.
world, yeah, exactly. No matter where I went in the world, I always said to myself, this might be the last time I'm in LA. This might be the last time I'm in Florida or at NASA. And so I always tried to take a moment to, just let that sink in a bit.
Yeah.
And you try and look for something new every time you go to a different place. The
Yeah.
same thing if I go down to the marsh here, if I'm trying to take a picture of a deer, what am I going to do that's different than the last time?
Yeah. Yeah. Touching on your photography, it is J. Kemp Photography, correct?
That's me.
J. Kemp, Kemp Photography. If you get a chance, and it's Jay Kemp. If you get a chance, have a look at his page, because some of his work is just incredible. Well, I shouldn't say some, because that means that there's others that aren't, but and that's not what I'm trying to imply here. But some of his work is just incredible. It's beautiful, and he really captures it. I know when at one point, Jay, you're aware of this. I was a photographer, and my whole thing was doing animal photographs, and I used to promote it as, I don't want to take a picture of your dog sitting on the floor. I want a picture of your dog being your dog, like moving, being alive. I want to capture life in the photograph. I keep smacking my microphone. I'm sorry. Capturing life in the photograph. So what you're saying is very valid. I truly agree with it. It's awesome. And Jay really does capture that in his images. You'll see it if you look at it. And I do strongly suggest that you do. So Jay, one of the other things I'd like to do here is I have 17 questions that I ask people. I know it's a random number, but I like to just throw these questions out, because it's one thing talking to you about your work and your hobbies and that kind of stuff, but this gives an insight as to Jay the person, okay? So we're going to start with the question, tea or coffee?
Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon and night.
Okay, what are you drinking right now?
Tea.
Tea, there you go, because it's the morning somewhere. What do you have in your tea and coffee?
I have cream in my coffee, milk in my tea.
No sweeteners? Attaboy. Cats or dogs? And I think I know the answer to this question.
Well, I have cats, but I love dogs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, both.
Both? Okay. Now, did you recently get 2 new kittens?
No.
No?
No. That was just a picture I found on the internet.
Oh, okay. Well, don't take credit for it then. Attaboy. And this is one that I like to ask, just to, have a bit of fun with it. What's your most embarrassing moment that you would like to share?
Yeah, there's tons. One that sort of comes top of my head, I was shooting a hockey game. I don't know if it was a World Junior hockey game. It was at the Scotiabank Arena. At that time, it was the Air Canada Centre, and it was packed. There was 20,000 people in the stadium, and I was on the bench, and the clock was ticking down in the third period, and this is it. They were going to go out and celebrate on the ice and shake hands, and I had a sound guy who was with me. He was attached to my camera, and the buzzer goes. The players jump over the boards. I pop open the door and go running out onto the ice, and my sound guy was looking at a girl in the audience, and I went out, and the cable went taut, and I ended up on the ice. I ended up breaking the camera.
Oh dear!
And actually hurting myself quite bad, but it was more the embarrassment of doing that in front of 20,000 people. Like, instead of looking at the celebration, I could hear everyone looking at me and chuckling, and so it was that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, that's when you grab a hold of that wire and you go.
Well, at that time, as much as I was injured and the camera was broken, I got up and still pretended to shoot, because it was more that my pride was broken.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're okay from that? There was no lasting effects as a result of the injury?
Who knows?
Do,
No,
do
I
you,
think I'm okay.
well, with your line of work, there's potential for everybody in the world to have seen that. Do you know if there's footage of it?
Mm, I don't think so. I'm not sure if it was a televised game. I don't know if it was a World Juniors. It wasn't NHL hockey, but maybe it was CHL or something like that.
Okay.
But it was a full house.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was televised because maybe that's why we were shooting on the benches and stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I might have to do some research of my own there to see if I
Oh,
can
great.
find
Yeah.
that. I'll share it with everybody if I
Oh,
do.
good. I hope you do.
Xbox or PlayStation?
I don't play anymore. I'm not a gamer anymore. For the longest time, we had a PlayStation, but most have transferred over to Xbox.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, and kind of tying along with that, iPhone and I know the answer to this, so I don't even really need to continue, but iPhone or Android?
What do you think?
iPhone, obviously, yeah.
iPhone.
You know what?
iPhone mostly because I'm really connected with the Apple ecosystem.
With the what, sorry?
The Apple ecosystem.
I
So
don't know
I
what
have
that is.
I work on a Mac. I have an iPhone, Apple TV. Just everything works together.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I've never got into it, Apple. My daughter has one and she loves it, but it's just, I don't know. They're very good for photography from what I hear.
Yep, they're getting very good.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, if Apple wants to send myself and Jay your latest phone to promote it, then get in touch with us.
This is a perfect opportunity.
Right? I mean, you gotta suggest it. You never know.
Absolutely.
Any broken bones in your life?
Nope, but the weekend's not over, so never say never.
Yeah.
I went out for a walk this morning and it was like a sheet of ice out there. So
Yeah. Is it snowing right now out there?
it was not right now.
It's been snowing. Oh, it's stopped here now, finally. I looked right out over Hamilton Harbor, and
beautiful.
I couldn't see it at all this morning. There was so much snow coming down. So, if you could, living or dead, one person you would like to meet?
Celebrity?
Anybody. You can give two options if you want. One celebrity, one non-celebrity.
Well, if I had to do a celebrity living, I would say Gary Oldman.
Yeah, okay.
One of my favorite actors. But John Lennon.
Yeah. And
George
you're a big
Harrison.
Beatles fan too, right?
Big Beatles fan.
Yeah. And I know that comes up later on in the questions, but we'll get to that in a minute.
There we go.
Favorite holiday destination?
Nothing. I don't have a favorite destination per se. I'm not a big person to just sit on the beach and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go to someplace tropical, then I'd like to be sailing or windsurfing or doing something. If I'm over in Europe, like London, Scotland, anything that's visual, I can take pictures of, or anything that's got a lot of history, I enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. Two suggestions for you. The first one, and it's very cheap. If you go to Cuba, go to Cayo Coco. Their wind sailing or windsurfing, with the big kites.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. You can go out in the ocean there about 1 kilometer, and it's only, I'm going to put this down. It's only about that deep at points,
Wow.
And the water is crystal clear.
I went to Cuba once in college, and I did enjoy it.
Yeah. It's Cayo Coco is kind of, I think they refer to it a lot as a private island, because it's off the mainland, and you have to work there as a Cuban to get access to it.
Wow.
So, but I don't know. I mean, Cuba, from what I understand, is beautiful, and it's picking up too, I believe. So that's good for them. The other one I would suggest is, as you know, I think you know anyway. You're friends with my wife Heidi on Facebook.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, she's from Hungary, and I've been there a few times. But if you ever get a chance to go to Hungary, visit Budapest. The downtown.
I'd love to go.
It's absolutely incredible. There is a building there. They call it the Citadel, and they haven't fixed it up since the Second World War. The damage that was done to this building, it's incredible. Wow. But it didn't fall apart. It's just got bullet holes and shell holes in the side of it. It's you stand back and you look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, is this what these people had to go through? I imagine it would be like going to somewhere in the Middle East, you know, where they've got all the turmoil going on there. Some of the buildings over there must be trash, but I've never been there either. But Hungary, Budapest, if you get a chance, go.
Love to.
For the record, I do not endorse Hungary, Cuba, but if you'd like to send a ticket and airfare, then, you know, two. Yeah. Me and Jay will go. Forget the wives.
Sure.
Okay. Favorite movie?
I love Wes Anderson. Love his films. So World Tank, Life Aquatic. Love those. I'm also a huge fan of Roger Deakins. He's a cinematographer. So he did Shawshank Redemption, Blade Runner in 1917. He's responsible for the look of the film. And I'm also a fan of David Fincher, who's a director.
Okay.
So, yeah, anything along that genre.
Okay.
Now, I like storytelling.
Sorry?
I like storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I like a movie with a story that's, you know, something that you can learn something from, right? Not necessarily a documentary, but now the next question is favorite binge TV show.
Well, I'm gonna dig binge TV show. I think I have to dig deep on this one. There was a series. I think you can get it on Apple TV now, or you can at least buy it, called Bored to Death.
Oh.
For some reason, the writing, the comedy, I just loved it.
Wow.
And there's another one that's with Will Arnett. That was years and years. In fact, I think it was only one season. It's a series called Running Wild.
I think I started to watch it, but I didn't continue.
It's a little out there. It's crazy, but I thought the humor was hilarious.
Wow, interesting. I think your mic is touching your beard in your headset, so it's kind of garbling it a bit.
Yeah, well, my batteries might be getting low too.
Oh, that's good. So we'll speed this up a bit then, I guess.
Okay.
Pineapple on your pizza.
Yes, if it's done right.
Good answer. I like it. I like the mix of sweet with it. Here's one that I like to ask: real or fake?
I like real pizza.
No Christmas trees. I like where you're going with it. You're a pizza fan by the sound of it there. If you could have one do-over in your life, what would you do?
One do-over. I don't think I would do anything over. I mean, we're here because of what's happened in the past. So if you do something over, it's going to change where you are now.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
I mean, back you're like, oh, if I'd done that differently, but yeah, that's rearview mirror.
You can't live with regrets, right?
Life goes this way.
Yeah, exactly. Like it. Very good. Do you play any musical instruments?
I don't have any musical talent whatsoever.
No?
Nope.
Well, you've got the camera talent, so that more than makes up for it.
Trying.
Your favorite band, and I think I know the answer to this.
Beatles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Abbey Road there.
I can see it behind you there. I thought you were pointing at the globe. I'm like, I don't know that one.
The whole world loves the Beatles.
Yeah, the whole world, yeah. The best concert you've ever been to?
I'd say Peter Gabriel.
Very good. Where was that?
That was back at CNE.
Okay.
It's him and Bowie, that kind of genre of artist. They don't just put on a concert, they put on a performance.
It's a show.
It's a show.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the CNE as a venue. That was a great place to see a concert. I saw my first concert there. That was the U2 concert for the Joshua Tree tour.
Okay. I remember that one.
Oh man. I still get goosebumps thinking about it, but
it's a different feeling when you're outside, you know.
Well, they had two opening acts. They had Colin James, if I remember correctly. And then they also had Los Lobos.
Okay, I remember that.
Oh, man, they dragged La Bamba out for about 20 minutes. I'm sure of it. But then they came out, U2 came out, and they started with Where the Streets Have No Name. And a lot of people don't realize this, but at the beginning of that, there's like a church organ, and they have really, really strong bass on it. I was 147 rows back. I can still remember the number.
Wow.
147 rows back, standing on a folding chair to see, and the bass was like knocking me off the chair. It was incredible feeling, but that was probably because it was my first concert. I'm sure they all do it like that.
Yeah, it's the experience of being there.
It sure is. Yeah, it is. The last one. If you were to be reincarnated and you could choose what you wanted to come back as, what or who would you come back as?
That's a good question. Well, I don't really believe in reincarnation, and I think if there was, you probably wouldn't have the choice. You would be
I'm giving you the choice.
Random. You know what? I don't think I could say anything because I don't know how to be anything other than me. I mean, you could say, look, I'd like to be Elon Musk, but I'm sure he has had turmoil in his life and things he's had to overcome. I would
have thought you would have said a penguin.
Well, I am curious.
Yeah. The answer that I've been giving, and I really like the idea of this. I mean, it's never going to happen that I get the option. I'm not sure that I believe in reincarnation either, to be honest with you. But I'd like to come back as my daughter's child to see what kind of mother she is.
But you would see it from a different lens, a different point of view, right?
Different lens. There it is again.
Different
yeah,
lens.
I would, but just the idea, I love her to bits, and getting dark here, but the idea of not being around to see her grow into who she is and what she can be, it breaks my heart. Now, I'm not planning on going anywhere. That being said, I'm not, there's no terminal illness lurking in the background that I know of, although I do have these horns. So, but yeah, I would just really like to see who she becomes in life. So there you go. So touching base on a few things here that we've talked about. You just brought up Elon Musk. How is that space program that he's got going, eh?
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
It just goes to show that taking things away from government into the private sector and the way we've advanced is just incredible. I did a story a long time ago on a one-wheeled motorcycle. It sounds weird. It's one wheel that you sit on. And the weird thing is you can't fall off. It's got a gyroscope inside. Yeah. Really incredible. And I said to the guy, how did you invent this? And he said, it's all thanks to cell phones. Once the cell phone revolution happened, inside your cell phone, you've got a gyroscope and a GPS. And all this stuff that was only available to government and to NASA and to the military. Mm-hmm. It's all in your pocket. He said this part that would cost $1,200 now costs $2.
Wow.
So, think companies like SpaceX, they're able to take all this off-the-shelf technology. Back in the Apollo time, they had monitors. They're all custom-made monitors. Now it's all, they buy everything off the shelf. You need a computer. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, it's innovation. So it's allowing us to have a conversation right now.
Yeah.
Across 5 cities where we couldn't do this 10 years ago.
No, it's amazing. My wife talks every day on video. She sees her mother every day in Hungary.
Yep.
My dad passed away back in 2001, I think it was. And it's terrible that I don't know when he did. But even I think back to what he saw, because he was born in 1922, I think. And the changes that he saw as he was growing up, phenomenal. But I don't think that it had necessarily the same impact on humanity the way that what we're going through is changing, I think there's a possibility for us to evolve into something completely different now that cell phones are around. And we'll all be walking around like this with looking like T-Rexes or whatever. So little arms, big head, right?
Yeah, you take the good with the bad. There's positives to it, and there's kind of negatives as well. But
yeah,
that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, right. That'll be episode number 2 with Jay. I was going to ask you about with your photography. You want to give a plug about that?
It's just something I enjoy doing. I like, if people go to my website, you won't see, I might have a few animal pictures on there or a few landscape pictures, but not many. It's mostly about people. I like trying to, just like we discussed with taking pictures of animals, trying to capture someone's personality. And it doesn't have to be an action shot. It can be someone sitting or thinking or just trying to create a mood.
Yeah.
To me, a photo, whether it's taken with your iPhone or a toy camera or a Polaroid or whatever, it's not about is it technically perfect? It's the mood. It's how it makes you feel. And I took a picture of a friend of mine not too long ago, and I think we took over 1,000 photos, and I got it all down to about 45 photos that I was going to give to her. And as I was going through, there was one that I was like, oh, this is garbage. I'm just going to delete this photo. I thought, you know what? I'll give it a quick edit. So I gave it a quick edit, and it ended up being one of my favorite photos.
Wow. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, because it wasn't a great photo. My settings weren't fantastic on it, but it was the mood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you can really emphasize that with the software that's available now, right? The mood. I mean,
yeah.
with
For
the
good or bad, it's available to everybody. Software, but you can make a good photo great, but it's tough to make a bad photo good.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I've only had this once, and I'm not going to name names, but I took a picture. I did a shoot with a person, and no matter how much I edited, I could not make them look good. It was horrendous to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was so heartbreaking because, photography is an art. I mean, you're creating an image. That's art, right? And it's probably most basic form, I guess. And I could not create an image that I was comfortable as an artist to present. And it was a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I think some of the misconception is because the software is so good that you can fix stuff.
Yeah.
I think the secret to just like taking a picture of an animal or whatever, the secret is to get it in the camera. To get it right in the camera, then you can enhance from there.
Yeah.
You can you can make the colors pop or change the sky or do whatever. But if you don't have it at the start, it's tough to get it at the end. It can be done, but
fair comment. Yeah, that's fair. And the one thing that I found is, and I'm sure you've come into contact with this, is that nowadays everybody's got a camera. Everybody. I mean, I'm within an arm's length. I've got 3 lenses or 4 lenses or something. I don't even know that I could be taking pictures with. But the thing that people don't understand, that everybody can take a picture. Everybody can edit a picture, but not everybody is a photographer. And photography is an art form, like I say. So, yeah, you can do it. You can have everybody taking pictures. Do you do weddings? Have you done weddings at all? No.
That just doesn't interest me.
No. You're more portraits and that kind of thing, right? And again, everybody has to find their niche, if you will, if I'm pronouncing that word right, I guess. Is that right? Niche?
Yep.
For me, it was animals and pets. Everybody has their own thing, but not everybody can capture what you want to capture in a picture. So have you experienced a lot of that kind of feedback?
I think with photography or video or anything, a lot of it's technical.
Yeah.
You need to know, let's say for photography, the exposure triangle, universe square law. Like there's a whole bunch of different things that I think people should know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you can teach it.
Mm-hmm.
I can, given enough time, I can take people and teach them the skills, and they can become better photographers or picture takers or video people. But then, and I don't put myself in this category, then there are people that just take it beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at their photos and, you can see them all on Instagram. And, every day I go through it, I'm like, wow, I'm just in
Yeah.
awe with some of the stuff. And some of it's done in post. Like I know the guy's enhanced the photo or the woman's enhanced the photo or whatever, but just the artistic creativity is just incredible. But it can be taught.
Yeah.
But from there, so I'm in the taught category, but then there are people that just take it to the next level.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance and you're on Instagram, look up the Ballerina Project.
Okay.
Some of the images that this guy captures of ballerinas are breathtaking, like stunning. I believe that ballet is an art form in itself as well. The way that the dancers are able to create images on their own with their body and create they become their own, like a different thing altogether with their body and the movement. That's incredible enough. But this guy actually captures a lot of that in his images. So the Ballerina Project, everybody have a check of that, but check out Jay's stuff first. So Jay, have you got any new plan or big plans for the new year?
No plans. I think after 2020, just see what every day brings.
Yeah. Well, listen, once this whole COVID thing is in the background, I really hope we can get together. Maybe all of us can go out for supper or something. It'd be nice to hang out and get out of the house, right? Other than to the driveway or the balcony or wherever you are.
Go to Niagara Falls.
Or to the zoo, even.
Zoo.
We were going to do that at one point, but it just never happened, right?
Yeah.
But I'd really like to do that. It's been amazing talking to you. You remain in my category of most interesting people. This only scratched the surface of what this guy has done, folks. Amazing work. Give it a look. J. Kemp Photography, and check out his stuff. Get in touch with him. You do sessions with people?
Absolutely.
Right. So I just want to make sure before I start telling everybody to call you and get in there and get a booking. But it's well worth working with Jay if you get a chance, and like his stuff. And on that matter, like this page if you like this interview. Follow us, subscribe. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for viewing. Jay, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure catching up with you for the first time. So I guess it's not really catching up, but it's been a real pleasure catching up and talking with you. I thank you so much.
The pleasure's been mine.
What's that? Sorry?
Thank you. The pleasure's been mine.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Hey, and I got to ask you this. How do you think it went?
Good.
Good.
What was that? 5 minutes?
I don't even know how long we've been chatting. It doesn't show me anywhere what the duration is of this, but oh wait, did I start recording? No, I'm kidding. I know I'm recording. Wouldn't that suck? Anyway, guys, everybody watching this, thank you so much. Jay, thanks again. I really appreciate it. And everybody, go out and do something good.